Hi everybody. It is day 4 of March Wellness. Today I'm going to bring you Qigong forms. So we are working on liver and gallbladder, the movement of yang rising through the great liver potential. And so liver, gallbladder are mates, and the liver, remember, the channel comes from the big toe, up the inside of the legs, up into the ribs, in the middle, the body, and then gallbladder begins at the head, and it comes from the eyes to the ears, over the top of the head, around the occiput, down to the shoulders, and they meet and cross with the liver down the ribs, and then the gallbladder continues down the IT band, the outside lateral side of the edge to the fourth toe. It's a long channel, and so the point of meeting in the ribs and the side body is really important during this time of spring. And so we're going to do a little warm-up and then a silent practice of the 6 forms of the I Ching that I've put together for this time now, as the yang is lifting and rising and pulling this great sap up the trees. So there's tension rising. And so we want to just work through the tension as a potential creative power. So the forms begin with a yin and then 2 yang forms, and those together form soo-nn, a wood element, wood growth, and that's liver and gallbladder. And so soo-nn is like the wind in the trees. So it can be both. It can be the growth of the tree or the wind moving through the trees. We oftentimes call wind a liver imbalance when it's wiry and there's too much tension, but when it's solid, the tension's good. And then the upper forms, there's 2 yang forms and then a yin finally at the top. So these 6 forms together, the top forms are called dui, which is metal element. Metal is usually likened to the lung, so it begins with a nice lung form, and that metal is about clarity and discernment. And so these 2 forms put together form what we call in English a critical mass, a point where movement has to happen. Imagine that the roof is a swamp, because dui is the lake. It's the holding of water that's pressing down on the wood. Imagine trees or a forest beneath a swamp pressing down. Movement has to happen. This is the critical mass. So inside, though, is a hidden influence of creativity that's making that move, this impetus to move. And then the underlying cause is because it needs nourishment. So coming from the bayous of Louisiana, where I was born and where I learned from nature, the great cypress trees learn to adapt really well, and they push their roots up to breathe. So it's a creative way to adapt to a situation in order to nourish life. All right, so I have a poem for you before we begin by Louis Agassiz. It says, "To follow the energy of life, you will discover that it is always seeking the best of what you might become. The study of nature is intercourse with the highest mind. You should never trifle with nature. To follow the energy of life, you will discover that it is always seeking the best of what you might become. The study of nature is intercourse with the highest mind. You should never trifle with nature." So the roof has become too much. It needs to adjust. The exuberance of thought, ideas, too much for the old foundation. Creativity is the root. The tension is the driving force. Nature uses tension to push all things beyond the known. Even though uncomfortable, you must adapt and adjust. Believe in what you are doing. Everything is unfolding